Welcome to BNOW for Tuesday, September, what is it, 27th today? I believe it's 27th. I lose track of date. Yes, there we go, 27th. I'm Don McLeod, and joining me is Fazal Khan. Faz, how you doing?
Hi, Don. I'm a little wet. I just came in. I got drenched. I'm a little cold. I'm wearing my neighborhood watch jacket. And if you unzip it, I noticed, I got the Brampton Focus thing here. Can you see it?
Yeah. You got the harmonized one too, and the other one's underneath there as well.
I got something. Oh, I think that's a neighborhood watch.
Okay.
Neighborhood watch, Brampton Focus, neighborhood watch. Here we go.
Now you need to be now, and then we got everything covered right across the bat. Anyway, first thing we're going to do leading off today, we got a viral video. It was Chicuzi Road that this video was taken. I'm sure everybody's seen it because they had it all across news networks and stuff like that. So you want to shoot that one, or you want to give a little background?
I don't really know the background other than the driver, I think, was impaired by drugs, and he came from Quebec, so he's not a Brampton driver. So I think one of the passengers are from Mississauga. So this was mostly, a third-party thing.
Yeah, the police put out, a description. There were 3 people, apparently, 1 guy, 1 driver, and 2 in the back. So let's check it out, and then we'll talk about it.
Here we go. Oh, just to set it up, I had to clean up the video because it's really shaky. So let me know what you think. Here we go.
Oh, my God. What the fuck? Bro! Yo! Okay, we have... No fucking way! What is he doing? That's wild! Oh, you have to move from here, man. He's out. He's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Oh! Holy shit, man! He's getting rid now. Oh, he's hitting everybody, man.
I love the commentary that comes. I love the commentary that comes out of those videos. It's like, oh, he's hitting everyone, man.
Hey! You're not allowed to do that, Don.
It's hilarious. It's fun, but you know what? I saw that video, and to me, the 2 cops showed pretty much like huge restraint there. If that was me, I mean, their lives with someone like that was in danger. I'm surprised they didn't shoot the tires or shoot the driver.
They were also taking risks. If I was one of their family members, I'm thinking, the car's out of control, and you're trying to put whatever you're under the tire to stop them. It's like, you know what? At that point, you're not stopping that guy.
Yeah, and exactly. And the thing is, shoot the tires, shoot the guy. I mean, that to me, that would have been a justifiable shooting. That, from that video,
it looked like one of the officers had a gun. I couldn't tell, but I don't know what the police training is for something like that. But we've seen lots of videos in the U.S. where shots are fired, right? So yeah, I'm glad shots weren't fired there. I'm glad we live in Canada and Peel region. And, there's a lot of negativity about crime and community safety in Peel region. And I got to tell you, Don, the stats show something completely different. Peel region is one of the safest places in Canada to live. The crime severity index is almost half of the national average. And it's things like this video. And that's one of the reasons why I wasn't really sure we should show it today. It's this crazy stuff that goes viral. It's the crazy stuff that goes viral, and then people think, oh, that's happening every day in Brampton. That was not normal, what you just saw here.
No, but the point is, I mean, if I'm an officer, those 2 officers, I mean, with that guy driving like that, to me, that was, their life is in danger. I mean, somebody backs up like that. I mean, he rammed into the telephone pole and everything else. To me, it's like, yeah, I mean, their lives are at risk doing that. I looked at that and said, if that was me, sorry, dude. Like, if I've got a gun in my hand, you're going.
You've got a military background, right, Don? So that's why
I do. But it's like, but the police at the same time. I mean, like undue danger for someone like that. That's totally crazy. I mean, that person was not stopping unless until at the end of the video, he was rammed by another cruiser.
I think Mike Dancy is the sane one here tonight, Don. we normally wouldn't say that.
Okay,
But...
okay. Hold on a second. Mike is never saying at any point in time.
Oh, and by the way, thanks for commenting, Mike. Karen Dancy. I know some of you are expecting her to be on tonight with me instead of Don. That was supposed to happen last week. We didn't have a show last week. I'm going to blame Karen, but actually it was me. I told Karen, like, can we not have a show today? Because I was really busy. And she said, okay. And then tonight she was supposed to be on, but something happened. Anyways, we'll get Karen on one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You know, Karen, she's a regular viewer, and she's I'm not sure is it St. Rock that she's involved with? Is it St. Rock? Always blame others. Absolutely, that's what I said, Darshan. He blames everybody else, but never himself. Me, on the other hand, I blame him as well.
I should have look. I gotta tell viewers. By the way, it might be a good time to show it. So, right before this, I was at the Gita Park.
Cardinal Ambrose. Okay, so Karen works at Cardinal Ambrose. Okay.
So this is the new Gita Park. And sorry, I'm not Hindu, so I don't know all the terminology around it. But this is the only Gita Park outside of India. Let me put that on full screen. So I was there. This is before the rain came. So I took a nice wide angle shot. Great turnout. Lots of community engagement. The mayor, a bunch of councillors were there, including Michael Pilecki, who's the local councillor. And apparently last week they had a big garba there. And I think 1,000 people showed up, and the mayor was talking about it, and it was outdoors, and he had a great time. So I think it's just great for the community. I don't have any video to show right now. In fact, I'm not even sure I got good audio. So we'll see about that. But, you know, the council gets a lot of criticism, Don. Let me put it back up, for these kinds of park renaming. Right. I don't even think it's a renaming. It's a park naming because it's a brand new park. But the council gets a lot of criticism for doing this stuff. But you know what? We have things named after all sorts of kind of the traditional religion here, right? I don't want to say religious names here, but, you know, and so this is a way to kind of distribute the names.
Well,
in city,
it's a kind of way to integrate you know, the background and the diversity that, you know, Brampton is, right? I mean, you know, everybody says Brampton's you know, it's a large community, but it's there's something like 72 different ethnicities in Brampton that speak over like 180 languages. So I mean, it's a population that's not like Barrie or something like that, right? So for the community, for parks to reflect the nature of the whole population, I have no problem with renaming parks and stuff like that. It happens all the time on a regular basis. 100 years from now, maybe something totally different.
Yeah, 100 years from now, hopefully there's nice, huge trees in that park. It'll be beautiful. Kind of like Gage Park is right now, right?
Yeah, and I mean, this is what you want. You want to integrate so people feel at home within their community. If they don't feel at home within their community, then they're not tied to the community. Once they start to feel at home in the community, then you get a better community as a whole.
Okay. All right, Don. So the next thing on our agenda, I know I didn't tell everybody our agenda, because our agenda today was basically to talk about that viral clip, talk about not just that, but one of the things I know you were having a conversation with me, Don, is at the federal level, like that driver is probably back out in the street, right?
Well, that driver, I think he had previous convictions, number one. So previous convictions, and he's driving around. So how does he get a driver's license with previous convictions? Something Patrick Brown had talked about, I think, very early in his tenure. There was a pedophile that was going to be re-released into Brampton. He wanted the National Parole Board of Canada to stop bringing this person in. Eventually that happened. They said, no, we're not going to reintegrate him back into Brampton because he was going to be close to a schoolyard area. And this is a pedophile. I can't remember the name of the offender, but you know, the federal level, I see a lot of federal MPs talking and, you know, tweeting out. I had a great Zoom call with Chief Nish and, you know, community leaders about how we can stop gun violence and do this and that and everything else. And it's like, okay, what are you doing in the federal level? Because there's a lot of things that that the provincial government has no jurisdiction on the federal government, including guns across the border, parole time, harsher sentences for guns, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things that the federal government can do, but I don't see any of our federal MPs actually advocating for that. All they do is tweet out and saying, we had a great talk. Well, that's nice. You had a great talk, but there's a lot of things that you could do. You could initiate a bill. You could do a private member's bill and put it forward. But I think and I'm not, talking here for other than myself. I think the parole board situation and the parole, there's a lot of people that have said that needs a totally overhaul. The Young Offenders Act needs a total overhaul. And then guns, first offense with a gun needs a total overhaul as well. So I'd like to see our federal MPs take a leading role. I'm not sure that's possible because they seem to have disappeared lately. So that's one of my beefs that I look at. And where are our federal MPs and where's the advocacy? Crime is a number one thing. If you talk about, we're going to get into municipal politics, but in a minute, but I hear a lot of candidates talking about, I hear at the door, crime is the number one thing. Okay, well, we knew that how many years ago when we started up back Neighborhood Watch. And that's one of the reasons why we did, because when we were talking to residents at the door, crime was a number one issue as well. And with the Peel Regional Police, they wanted that program reinstituted and they helped us get it off the ground. So, that's Mike's little gem of wisdom for today. That's two.
Well, I'm actually surprised, Don. You're being very tame because you were telling me a lot of stuff on the phone when we were discussing the show tonight and I mentioned to you when Rob Ford came onto the scene in Toronto, I was a big fan because one of the first things he did was went on News Talk 1010, and I forget who the commentator was at the time, and he laid out a whole bunch of cards, and he says, as a counselor, I get free access to the zoo, I get free parking, I get free this, and he says, why should we get any of this stuff, right? And you were telling me MPs also get a lot of stuff that we don't even know
Well,
about.
I'm going to write an article on that basically because there's a whole laundry list. I mean, one of the things that drew me to it was the federal government wants, they for free dental care, right? They put that bill forward. The Conservatives voted against it. I know the NDP, the Liberals wanted to put it free dental care. There's a whole bunch of things in regards to that, but you'd be surprised what federal MPs get as perks. And that's an article coming, and we can talk about it once I wrote the article, because, they talk about all sorts of things that basically, Canadians don't deserve and this and that, and we can't afford this, we can't afford that. You take a look and see what the MPs get on a regular basis, and you'd be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, and their office budget, and what do we get for that, right? And especially when we come back, let's bring it back to community safety. It's the local councillors and the mayor that always gets it, specifically the mayor, right? That always gets attacked because whenever there's crime, what is the council doing?
Right.
I don't know what you expect the council to do, right? It's the Peel Police, and they're limited by,
they're limited by provincial and federal. And that's the whole thing that we, part of the reason that you start a Neighborhood Watch is because it's effective deterrent before crimes start, not when they're happening, right? And basically, it's a situation that, we take a look at, and you're hearing it at the door, right? So if you're a municipal candidate or even a provincial candidate, you're running, you hear it at the door, that's important to eliminate crime and blah, 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 whatever. But as you say, it's, there's more federal jurisdiction than there is provincial, and there is certainly no municipal direction. You can bitch and complain all you want, but I mean, Peel Regional Police, it's a Peel thing. When you come to the Highway Traffic Act, that comes under provincial. There's only so many things that the city can do. I mean, traffic calming measures, okay, fine. You can put in speed bumps and so on and so forth for speeding. But when you're talking about, people being, whether they're being carjacked, whether they're being shot, knifed, robbed, that's got nothing to do with municipal politics. The mayor can't do anything in regards to that. He can
that's
only
a societal value thing that over a long period of time, it's about our education system and opportunities for young people. I was, as you know, Don, I'm on the board of directors for Arma House, which is a program to help women and their families who are fleeing domestic violence, to help them rebuild their lives. And that intimate partner violence is the number one call for Peel Police. And that's stuff that's happening in people's homes. Would you expect counselors, even MPs and MPPs, to go into people's houses and solve that problem? So it actually comes down to me to personal and family and cultural things, right? We shouldn't accept violence against women. And I'm going to harp back to what's happening in wards 9 and 10 with Gurpreet Dillon running again.
Yep.
If the people in 9 and 10 vote for him, I think for 4 years we're going to have an issue, especially with me, and I'm going to be championing it. He should not be there.
Well, here's the thing we talked about, and we actually highlighted organizations. Like, we've been doing this for 7 years now. We've highlighted organizations that basically, are there to help women in need. And as you said, our Mag House is one, but there's a few others, but I'm not going to share their names because they never responded. They never shared our posts. They never promoted anything that we did. And it's like they get provincial funding and they just disappear. I'm sorry, but you know what? If you're an organization that is there to help women against violence and advocate for that, something like Gurpreet Dillon, you should be front and center, number one.
There's some kind of event coming up. I forget the name of the event. I don't even want to say it because I'll probably it's negative, but they're trying to do a positive thing. It's a once a year thing to raise the issue of violence against women. Once a year. This should be every day, all day. They should be, I know Gurpreet Dillon has some kind of campaign event coming up in early October. These women's groups should be out there with signs. We'll cover it, saying you shouldn't even be running, let alone pretending like pretending that the incident happened, when we have our own city's integrity commissioner that said if she could, she would throw everything at this guy, but she couldn't because she's limited, and that's provincial, right? Yeah. That's another provincial law.
But I mean, that's one thing that we talked about. What we're going to be advocating for after October, after the election. We've got something planned that we want to actually put into place to go forward to deal with those on the provincial level. So that's something that we'll get into later. Let's kick it over to the candidates that are running across the region in Peel. We can talk about Mississauga as well as Brampton, and as well as
one of the things I noticed, Don, a couple of things in Mississauga, they already have signs out, so they were a week ahead of us. And in Oakville, they've had signs out for a few weeks. So
Georgetown as well. Georgetown as well. Yeah.
So I don't understand why there's not provincial standards on these things. Because a council can make decisions to benefit the councillors, right?
Right.
So the later you put out signs, I'm not sure who benefits or doesn't benefit. At one point there was talks about no signs.
Yeah.
And then that's a complete disadvantage to it's a complete advantage to the incumbents, right?
Yeah, other than the incumbent, absolutely, 100%. And the thing is that someone made a comment before that basically why is council, and this includes the mayor as well, why are they doing these park things and everything else during an election period? They get all the press, they get all the coverage. If you're a candidate that's running and there's something going on in 7-8 or whatever, it's like the incumbent is there getting his photograph taken, but you're running against him. So it's almost a situation that they're using these public events where, in my mind, there should be nothing. It should be a lame duck. You are not allowed to, take photographs using the city. And
I don't disagree, Don, but those aren't the rules, right?
I know, and that's the whole thing.
To follow the rules. We need to have tighter rules. Technically, I don't think anybody should be getting paid as a politician if you're running for your job. Yeah. Because of those advantages, right? But those rules need to be changed. I don't know who's ever going to change it once they get in office.
Well, their discretion on City Hall, right, at this point in time, right? So whatever the council is, they can actually make these decisions, right? So it's like including the signs, like you said, there was a motion put forward to have no signs that was defeated, but at the same time,
the big change I would like to see happen in Brampton is the way campaigns are funded. So in Mississauga, and I didn't research this, but when it started, but in Mississauga, up to 75% of a campaign donation could be reimbursed to the person paying it. So let's say you donate to me. I go and run for mayor in Mississauga and you donate to me. The city of Mississauga will give you 75% back up to certain limits of what you gave to me. And that really helps challengers because incumbents, as we all know, when it comes to getting money, they're the ones that people will give money to because it's a lower risk scenario. And candidates have to rely on smaller donations from friends and families, the challengers, And now this is as a way to incent them, right? Instead of giving $25, they might give $100 because 75 is going to come back to them later in the year by the city. And I think the cost of the city is in the 200,000 to 300,000. I don't know exactly the number. I really would like to see that happen because, if you look at the financials between incumbents and challengers, it's night and day.
Well, of course it is. Of course it is. And that's something that basically anyone going into politics understands that. What was it, about 10 years ago, they figured if you're going to run for president of the United States, you have to have, something like $1 or $10 million. It was some astronomical amount. And it's like,
I think it's in the billions, Don.
Well, it's not in the billions.
Not personally, but to run a national campaign in the U.S.
Yeah.
And because corporations are involved there.
That's the other thing
billions,
too,
right? If you add in all the Senate races and all the state races.
No, but I mean, to run for president of the United States, I mean, you got to have basically, X
Your
amount of
network has
millions
to be way
put
up there,
aside. But that's something that, if you're a candidate and you're running, whether it be for municipal, provincial, or federal politics, you better be prepared to put some skin in the game. And that's the whole thing, right? I mean, if you want to put money in, fine. I think if you're running for councillor like Mike Dancy is, I think the maximum is somewhere around $55,000 for all your expenses, whether it be for signs and so on and so forth. So, I mean, you got to put
$55,000 is hard from small donations. But if the city were to refund 75% of that, then technically you're only raising like 10 to 15,000.
Right. But I mean, you got to put some skin in the game as well, right? So, you can't just, there's a lot of people, I've taken a look at the list of who is running and what they're doing. And a lot of people, they're not doing squat, right? So they don't even have a website. They don't have any policy statements. Everything is basically, I'm going to do this and this.
It's a lottery.
This.
It's a lottery. In fact,
exactly.
you don't even have to pay for this lottery.
Right, exactly. And it's a ridiculous scenario because you want good people in, not basically a paycheck politician.
Okay. We're going to cut off Mike because Mike is a candidate and it's like we're doing, we're not going to, sorry, Mike, no more comments for you.
He's picking up beer cans. Okay. Well, that's a good way to get it.
I got in trouble by you, Don, last week because I offered to do a free video for anybody who bought me lunch at
that's not, we're not doing that, right?
I did it. There's 2 in the queue.
Yeah. The other thing too is like,
I got 2 meals done.
You got 2 meals? Okay. And that's at Williams Cafe. Our good buddy Kashi and Joseph relaunched Williams Cafe, which is good because he owned that with a partnership 2 years ago, and then there was a problem, and now he's back running it just solo. So good for you, Cash. You got it at a good price. I guess it was a bargain basement after 2 years of COVID slagging sales. Some things work out, right?
Yeah, and it's a great spot. I've been there a few times already, and it feels like a home. Cash, I might actually do one of these shows. I might be at the Williams Fresh Cafe, and you're operating the controls here.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. Yeah. We can do that going forward because Cash is our buddy. But like a lot of the candidates, like years ago, when we're I think the last election, we did a mayoral debate, and there was a lot of candidates that we said, sorry, you know what, we're only doing X amount, right? It's on our dime. We're doing it on our dime. We can invite whoever we want. Candidates have this sort of mixed up thing that they think that media for some reason has got to cover each and every candidate, and we got to talk to each and every candidate, and it's our duty. Our duty is not, whether it be journalists or media, that is there's no responsibility on our part to actually put you in the headlights. We pick the topics, we pick what we want to cover and who we want to cover. A good example is in the mayoral race in Toronto. You got John Tory and Gil Pelanosa. Now, I brought him up when he started to run, and he's gaining traction. And the only reason the media is talking about him and talking to him is because he's running a campaign, he's running a social campaign, and he's actually got things that he's actually saying, this is what I'm going to do, here's what we should do. And he's got a platform, and it sounds logical. If you're just a candidate and you're saying, I'm going to clean up City Hall with nothing, no examples, no platform, and no concrete steps on how you're going to do it.
Because anybody can do anything, but it's going to cost a lot of money, right?
Well, exactly. And it's like, I'm going to clean up crime. Crime, we're back to, it's a number one issue. And I see some candidates, I'm going to take your concerns to City Hall. Yeah, okay, and do what? Like, what are you going to do?
There was one mayoral candidate that says he's going to lobby Queen's Park to build another police station in Brampton. Queen's Park doesn't pay for police stations.
Yeah, exactly. Peel does, you idiot. And then the other thing is too, it's like, how is that going to solve anything? Police are reactive, not proactive. You might want to see.
And we are getting a brand new police division on the west side of Brampton and Mississauga. So those things are being done. We did get more police officers. Those things are being done. We can get a police, like when we used to do neighborhood watch, one of the things we would talk to the police about is like, yeah, we could put a police officer on every street corner, but are you willing to pay for it?
Exactly. And the point is, having a police officer on every street corner is not going to solve the crime. Crime happens. Most crimes, basically, they're reacting to crimes that are already done. And I know,
and it's happening in people's homes, right?
Well, exactly. Like, 4 years ago, they said the police, when they said most of the calls that they get are mentally, mental. What do they call them?
Mental health crises.
Yeah, mental health problems and so on and so forth. That's what I think.
But also intimate partner violence.
Yeah, 70% of the calls are
men beating on women.
Right. So, like you can have a cop on every street, but you can't have a cop in every house. Right.
Okay. This is Mike's dog, he said. This is Mike's dog typing. Any one of these candidates can make their own videos, discuss their platform, place it on their website. They just need an audience. Well,
that's up to them to get the audience, not up to the media and not up to journalists. If you want to, it's like when Obama ran his campaign. He was the first one to start to use, social media to a large extent, and he used it effectively and efficiently. There's some candidates that I've seen that are running in Brampton and Mississauga that have actually used social media to promote their platform and talk about it, and they sound rational and they're moving things forward. Other candidates, I haven't heard peep, nothing. So it's incumbent on you, the candidate, to make sure that your ideas get out there where someone like us or anybody else in the media take a look and say, hey, you know what? They're running a good campaign. They're smart. Sounds logical to me, and we're going to highlight this person. Yeah. It's not a situation where you pay to come on. Like there's some news stations that pay people to come on and so on. Sorry, we're not doing that, but we take a look at it and we take a look at which candidates are doing well and have a logical platform.
Yeah. So I know Mike Dancy's on the watching this here. Mike is running against Pat Fortini for regional councilor in Ward 7 and 8.
Yep.
I've had a chat with Mike because he's one of the people that bought me lunch at Williams. And we know it's hard to beat an incumbent. And the only one I think is beatable right now, the incumbents anyways, is Gurpreet Dillon. So I'm really interested to see how that race turns out. The other ones, if they get beaten, that's huge to unseat an incumbent. And I don't see anybody, unfortunately, sorry, Mike, I don't see anybody doing a good enough job to unseat any of the incumbents, including the mayor.
Well, at the same time, I mean, like I said, we harped back to it and we said about platform, a logical platform that makes sense. And it's up to you to get the information out there. It's not our job to promote you or promote your platform.
Well, look, Don, I knew this was going to happen. You were yelling at me, well, why am I doing videos for lunch, right? I'm undervaluing the video. It's because I knew these candidates are not paying attention, right? They don't know what's going on. They're just thinking, you say a few words to a few people and somehow magically the rest of the ward is going to know what you're doing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. And so for only 2 people to take up my offer, we would help you with that reach and I would do your video. Like, what else are you doing?
Well, there we differ because I told you before, we don't get $1 million from the city of Brampton like the Brampton Guardian does. They should be the ones actually highlighting, but they don't do nothing for nothing. We don't do something for nothing. We do a lot of stuff. We have done over 7 years, a lot of stuff for free for a lot of organizations.
But you say free. All we wanted is just kind of say thank you. Sometimes that's all we want is thanks for doing that. Some recognition. Hey, these guys did this video for us and it's helped us. And people don't even do that.
Yeah, it goes with it. And after October 24th, we get a lot of invitations to cover this and that and the next thing. We're not the Brampton Guardian. We don't get paid $1 million by the city to actually put ads in the paper that no one sees because no one gets the Guardian. We're not like any other media organization where they run ads. We're
nonprofit media, right? So,
exactly. So it's like,
a lot of volunteer effort.
Exactly. And we'll cover what we want to cover on a regular basis. So, as a candidate, your job is to get out there and get noticed. It's not to take selfies. Knocking on doors is the number one thing we said, right? So if you're not social media savvy, well, maybe you shouldn't be running, right? Maybe you got to understand the medium that you're running in.
And this medium that we're doing here, any candidate could be doing what we're doing here. Not with us. Do your own show. We'd even watch it, right? But it's not happening. Nobody's doing it. There's no way to engage with these candidates unless they come to your door, and then they're probably going to just hand you a flyer and say, "I'm going to solve crime."
Yeah, and the thing is, going forward, I mean, we did candidate debates in the past on our own dime. We did a federal one, we did a provincial one, we did a municipal one, and going forward. There's like I said before, there's other media organizations that get paid a lot of money by the city. They can do it, right? So if you're a candidate and you're out there, it's up to you. It's incumbent on you to make sure that your profile is raised by you, not by anybody else. So you got 24 until October 24th. Don't forget, though, the advance polls open on October 7th, which is next
Friday
week.
at City Hall.
Right? So I know there was a candidate. I know City Hall debated about Diwali. Hey, listen, Diwali falls on a date. If it fell on Christmas, I'd vote earlier, right? I think it's a non-issue. Diwali's more a nighttime thing anyway. The polls will be closed by the time.
No, Diwali's a whole day thing, family stuff.
It's a whole day, but it's mostly at night because it's a festival of lights, right? So it's happening at night. So at the same time, you want to embrace everything, but hey, that's what advanced polls are for. If you can't get out and if you can't tell your constituents, hey, listen, by the way, if you celebrate Diwali, get out. These are advanced polls.
It was an opportunity for all of these community groups to utilize Diwali to say, hey, go vote first, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Or second or third, but vote.
Yeah, if I'm going away on vacation, which, I'll vote before I go. Simple. It's not rocket science. Right.
Okay, Don, we're over time again. Good chat. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you next week.